90% of this morning has been cleaning, but that's a fairly crucial part of the winemaking process, kind of pretty important. And it looks like the Frontignac we were crushing yesterday has arrived, so we're going to be transferring it to cold settle. I spoke to Ben, the winemaker, this morning, 3 to 4 weeks actually, and this is just to let all the solids and the cloudiness, with a bit of help from an enzyme, settle and fall to the bottom. That makes juice nice and clear. And so there's 2 tanks down here, you guys see there, which have already got some Frontignac in them, plus kind of just make out the truck out there with 2 tanks of Frontignac that just arrived, and that is about to go into this bad boy underneath me, where it will rest for the next couple of weeks before they add a little bit of a starter culture and get it fermenting. The game is afoot. At the moment, we're just letting gravity do its job. Pumping from there, down into the winery, through the pump at the moment, which isn't switched on, and into the bottom there. And then once gravity is no longer sufficient, whack that on, start pumping the juice in. And once it gets about halfway, there's a cooler plate. You can actually see on the outside of that tank roughly where it sits. You can switch that on and I'll start chilling the juice down. But until we're about halfway, there's not really much point switching on, otherwise you've not got anything to cool. At the moment, we're just letting gravity do its job. Pumping from there, down into the winery, through the pump at the moment, which isn't switched on, and into the bottom there. And then once gravity is no longer sufficient, whack that on, start pumping the juice in. And once it gets about halfway, there's a cooler plate. You can actually see on the outside of that tank roughly where it sits. You can switch that on and I'll start chilling the juice down. But until we're about halfway, there's not really much point switching on, otherwise you've not got anything to cool. A cautionary tale from a hot year. These 2 barrels are filled with Grenache, which is intended for some of the 12th tree label wines, and these are from 2013, which was a particularly hot year, pretty small yields. Now Grenache is a bit finicky and can be quite high alcohol if left to its own devices. And these 2 barrels are filled with wine which has reached 17.8 degrees of alcohol, 17.8%, and still has 10 grams per litre of residual sugar remaining. Now, that's a kind of tricky proposition for a winemaker because you're not going to get much fermentation above that. Yeast dies out and starts dying out around 16.5%. 17.8, well into fortified wine territory. And they're sitting out in the sun here in the hope that maybe they can get the fermentation to start again, get some yeast growing. But there are very few cultures that are going to survive above that percentage ABV. So their only real options, probably blending it away, trying to get that 10 grams per litre residual down to about 2. But yeah, good luck. Just chatting to Jamie, the assistant winemaker there, about those barrels. He was saying he reckons that they're probably going to have to go down the sink. But then again, they might just choose to blend it away. But that's 1,000 litres of wine that would have been in one of the kind of mid to premium range. Well, pretty much premium range. All the wines here are in this pretty premium territory. So that's a bit gutting. Yeah, well, I'll drink it. Maybe. So once you hit a certain point, you can see the kind of first, at the bottom there's a wee valve and there's another valve just to the lower right of the big opening there. That's your racking valve. So we were sucking the juice out from there. Then when we hit a certain point, we open up the tank and use a racking filter. It's basically like an upside down umbrella. We cut which we then attach to the pump and then use that to filter out the leaves, the big gloopy stuff. Now in the first tank, pretty much got down to within a couple of inches of the bottom valve without really wearing it. The juice was pretty clear all the way down. This one is a bit more leesy. That's going to be wine. Ben, the winemaker, about those two 500-litre barrels of 17.8 Grenache, and yeah, I think he just wants to chuck it. Doesn't want much to do with it. I'm not sure there's anything you can do with it. Jeez.
Keep it straight, and then pull it so it's taut.
So if you're wondering what happens to all those leaves from earlier, they're in there. The big tank that the girls were strapping to the back of the jute truck there contained the lees from the Frontignac that we'd been pumping out of the vats into the larger vat earlier on today. So rather than waste the lees, it's taken away to a site where it is then distilled into a grape brandy. They get a bit of credit back in return for it, and with that credit they can then buy back some of that grape brandy, which they use to make their liqueur muscats, so the fortified wines. So not everything gets wasted. It's trying to minimise the amount of waste from production and to get something back for everything that you throw away. And that was pretty much all the excitement for the day. Tomorrow, hopefully I'll be getting in the van with Ben the winemaker and meeting Mike the owner, and we're going to be taking a wee trip around some of the vineyard sites, taking some samples, might get to see the bottling plant, and then hopefully a few cellar door trips with one of the marketing team. So yeah, should be an exciting day.